Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me thank you all for joining our today panel discussion on global initiatives for democratizing life science and promoting the equitable access to the healthcare. In an era remarked by rapid developments and advancements in life science and healthcare technologies, as we have seen today, we have discussed about incredible technologies like gene therapy, artificial intelligence, super biotech, and so on. Still, we are having about half of worldwide population not having access to the essential service of healthcare. It translates in about 3.5 billion of people not having service like treatment for chronic disease, vaccines, rather than maternal care. So I think that from our point of view, should be, and actually it is, an imperative to address the issue of the equitable access to the healthcare. And from my point of view, specifically as a venture capitalist, I think that this is one of the most ethical challenges for the future. So today we are going to discuss the barriers to such equitable access to the healthcare with our panelists and our leaders, navigating to a number of global initiatives and strategies that are striving to break down the walls, trying and ensuring inclusivity and equity to the healthcare system. So I would like truly to express my gratitude to our esteemed panelists and leaders that are going to bring a wealth of knowledge and expertise to this panel. Their experience spans in various sectors, including public, healthcare, government, VC approach and methodology, NGO, charity, and philanthropy. So I'm very proud to gather all these leaders with us today and to discuss with them so sensitive topics about humanity. And it's also a big pleasure for me to introduce our moderator, Dr. Işıl GÜNEY. Işıl is a molecular biologist, partner at BioScience Manager, one of the leading investment firm in the life science. And she has a really extensive experience and knowledge in both innovative and life science. So, Işıl, take over from here and please lead us through this panel, introducing first our panelists in what it promises to be a very insightful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Filippo, for your kind introduction. Welcome, everyone. I'm very pleased to be moderating the discussion this afternoon on this very important topic. We are currently in a period of incredible innovation in the life sciences. Advances in areas such as precision and gene medicine and AI and digital technologies are transforming the ways in which we diagnose, treat, and even cure diseases, as was also discussed in some of the previous panels in the forum today. But alongside this remarkable wave of innovation in healthcare technologies, there is a notable lack of innovation for enabling access to them. And the reality is far too many people around the world continue to struggle with access to even the most basic healthcare services, let alone the lead-edge ones. We have a wonderfully distinguished group of panelists who are going to delve into this important problem today, and it is my privilege to introduce them to you. Yossi BORNSTEIN is a leading figure in the Israeli biomed industry. He is the founder and CEO of the Shizim group, as well as the former CEO of Bristol-Myers Squibb in Israel. Dr. Chris HENTSCHEL is an esteemed global public health expert. He is the former CEO of Medicines for Malaria Venture and former CEO of Medical Research Council Collaborative Center. Satish Modi is a prominent industrialist and philanthropist based in India. He is the chairman of the Modi Global Enterprises and the chairman of the Gujar Modi Science Foundation and co-founder of the Inner Happiness Foundation. Mario Marazziti is a member of Italian Parliament. He is an activist, a human rights and health diplomacy leader, and a driving force within the community of Sant'Egidio, supported by the Vatican and dedicated to those in need. We will initiate our discussion if you would kindly answer each question in order, beginning with Yossi. Please feel free to build on one another's responses and have internal exchanges if you would like. We will have time at the end for questions from the audience. Given your different backgrounds and your different areas of expertise, from your vantage points, what are the key barriers to democratizing healthcare technologies?
So usually everybody talking on startup, and the barriers are intellectual property, reimbursement, regulation, but I would like to focus on one major topic that I think that needed more education, which is go-to-market. I saw many failures of startups which are in a stage of getting the FDA, they have the CE, and they failed. I don't know if you know, but 25%, only 25%, going into the commercial stage. After FDA, after they have FDA, and after they have the CE. And there are many obvious reasons, which are competition and other matters, but the major obstacle is finance. And this is very strange, because when the company is under risk, under developing technology in the R&D stage, it's always not easy, but they can do the fundraising easier than the fundraising after they have the FDA, and they have less risks. And the question is why? And I want to address this problem and giving you an insight on that, because there are two options. One, that they need more money for the go-to-market many times than what they had before for the R&D. They are not realize that the game is starting only now. And the investors are expecting now that they will start sales. But when they start sales, all the big dream that they had before about the market potential, how big the market is, we are going to take 2% of the market, 5% of the market, and it's $10 million, hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars. But when they start sales and they want to do the fundraising, the investors are checking them not according to the stories that they told before. Now they have the balance sheet. Okay, you sold $1 million a year. We have a factor. Now the company worth 5 million, 10 million. So no investor want now to go inside, because it would be, for the company, it would be a down round. All the previous investor would be hurt, and many companies are coming into insolvency position. So this is a big challenge, but I would like maybe to give a kind of a tip to all those technologies that coming into market. Don't define the first year sales as sales. Define them as post-marketing survey in order to improve your technology. Define it as pilot, and nobody would actually calculate it as sales because you are still, after the FDA, doing a kind of a research how to bring the product later on.
Wonderful advice. Thank you, Chris.
First, thank you very much to the Galien Foundation for inviting us to this panel and this topic. I could honestly talk for hours on this particular topic, but I know I can't really. So I'm only going to wear my global public health hat in this answer. Normally, people who look at the economists who look at this issue from a global public health perspective talk about, use the word market failure. Basically, the market will not drive healthcare to where it's needed, where there's a medical need, in an equitable way. In a way, you can go through why this is. The invisible hand, which Adam Smith, said would solve all problems, doesn't actually solve all problems. So you have to come up with other ways of dealing with it. When you're in the global public health sphere, in the weeds of it, you don't only talk about access. That's 1A. You talk about actually 4 A's. One is access. 2 is availability, because quite often in the poorest parts of the world, something will just not be available. There may not be a cold chain, for example, to get a product where it's needed. Another A is acceptability. We tend to think that every innovation which works is going to be accepted by the public that will benefit from it. Unfortunately, it's not true. Quite a lot of cultures simply won't want a particular medicine. The most well-known example is polio vaccines. Polio vaccines work fantastically well, but there are groups of people who may believe, for religious reasons or cultural other reasons, that it causes female infertility. And for these groups, they simply won't accept the product. The other A, of course, is the one that we all know, which is affordability. It is extremely difficult to produce medicines at a cost that is available for the poorest parts of the world. Certainly with the regulatory overhead in medicines. We already heard the figure that it might cost up to $2 billion to produce a medicine. Well, I'm sorry, you're not going to get your money back from sub-Saharan Africa. And this is the market failure that global public health has to deal with. There are other ways of trying to deal with that, other sources of money. There's certainly philanthropy. But now, most of the people who think about this are aware that there's going to be the greatest transfer of wealth in human history coming in front of us. And that's the baby boomer generation, people born between 1946 and 1964. This is the group, the baby boomers. They are going to transfer to heirs and successors an estimated, and the estimates vary somewhat, between $5 trillion to $35 trillion. And a lot of this is believed to go to impact investing possibilities. And I think a lot of the impact investing possibilities will end up going to global public health. So as you can see, I've just scratched the surface, but I think I've probably taken the time that I have.
Thank you, Chris. Satish?
Well, thank you very much. I must compliment Galien Foundation and also to Mr. Surace, Dr. Surace rather, for asking me to be here.
It's an honor for us, Satish, to have you here. Thank you.
So I will touch 2-3 areas. One is, of course, I'm from India. And this is a global initiative, so India is in the globe. And it has become the largest country in the world with 1.4 billion people. However, the healthcare, modern healthcare is yet to reach the villages because of the sheer size of the population. But you will be surprised, in India there is a medicine called Ayurveda, which the West has never understood or never accepted. Now this Ayurveda has been going on for last 5,000 years. In fact, the first operation, surgical operation, was performed in India 5,000 years ago. So basically, I would urge, since it's a global forum, they should not ignore Ayurveda. They know homeopathy, they know allopathy, but the third is Ayurveda. Ayurveda works on a totally different plank. Ayurveda is also the state of mind and also the body. And they normally pay much attention to the gut and to understand the health of a human being. India will come up like yoga you have adopted now all over the world, which started from India. And now UN also has a yoga day. To that extent it has been accepted. So yoga is basically a form of meditation, doing the exercise. The other area I would like to touch is that, as I was as you were all informed, that I have been able to set up Inner Happiness Foundation, coming from my book In Love with Death. So I have seen that health and happiness go together. You see, people generally are not happy. And when they are not happy, it's impossible to be healthy. Because if you look at our body is a passive, but our mind is the culprit. So you have, let us say, any problems, including any worries or any bad news or this or that. So the reflection comes in body. That means you may get high blood pressure, you may get diabetes for worry, you may get all kind of ailments. But the basic problem is the mind, because the mind sends the signal and the body reacts. So my thinking would be that people should pay attention on the how to be happy. Now, how to be happy is a very difficult subject, which I'm grateful to Mr. Mario for getting this foundation done in Rome. Because why do you feel happy? Happiness comes from love, happiness comes from giving, happiness comes from helping others, and general mindset can make you happy. I have seen that those people who are very, very carefree and happy, they have disease-free life. That means there is no disease at all. In fact, I was at the Cleveland Hospital 2 months ago. My wife underwent a knee surgery, and then Cleveland Hospital has set up a 7-star facility in London. So the doctor said, Mr. Modi, we would like to check you up also. Since your wife is undergoing operation, might as well use the opportunity since you're here. So I'll be touching 80 next year. So I was telling them, I have no problem, why you want to check me? We said, no, we believe in checking. So surprisingly, they checked me and they said, there is nothing wrong with you. There is no ailment. Your blood pressure is normal, your blood sugar is normal, everything is normal. You have zero ailment at your age. So doctors were very surprised that how come you have zero ailment at this age. 90% people either get diseases or this. So I was explaining to him also the most crucial part is to be happy under any circumstances. Now how do you feel happy, if I can touch upon, because I said it came out of my book which I have published, and you will be getting an Italian copy of this book today, thanks to Mr. Bruno and Mr. Mario Marazziti who got the book published. So, sorry, my papers went flying. So basically, what I'm trying to say is something different. We have a major hospital in Delhi, we have a township Modi Nagar, we have 500,000, many hospitals. But hospitals, people are going to get cured. but they are not cured. That is the trouble. I have not seen a single person getting 100% cure. Some disease they cure, then other disease start, then other disease they cure, the third disease start. It's multiple problem because they are not paying attention to the basic problem of human being. The basic problem human being is that he is not happy. Now to be happy, you have to first of all understand that you have to give. If you give, you will be happy. And if you live in gratitude, then only you can be happy. That means whatever you have got, be happy. Don't feel bitter about that I have less than that person, I have less than that person. I have a less big house, I have a less car, and all that rubbish. That can never make you happy. So see the whole world, you people are very privileged to be in Italy. And if you come to India where Dr. Surace had come, then you realize that how the poor people are living in India. I mean, their basic necessities are missing. So my point is that happiness cannot be ignored for good health.
Thank you very
Satish.
much, Sydney. Thank you. Very, very interesting perspective.
Yes.
So,
And if I may just very quickly add
Sure.
on that, I think what you're suggesting is that firstly, the states of mind, stress, anxiety, depression, the fact that they cause illnesses is no longer an empirical observation. But the neurological pathways and how they connect to the immune system, to the gut, for physical well-being, the molecular mechanisms are being deciphered right now. So we could view mental well-being and happiness as a prophylactic healthcare technology. And I think it's very important to look at it that way because it's quite scientific. So we appreciate your input for that. Thank you.
thank you.
Mario, if we may have your perspective, please.
Well, first I get from the previous speaker, from Satish, that there is a new big challenge for venture capitalists, how to create a technology to remove a stone heart and to give a real heart to the world.
That would be great.
So this is the, and yes, my angle is asking myself is, of course, if health is a human right or not, if it is offered and guaranteed as a human right or not. My answer is, of course, yes, it is, but it is not guaranteed as a human right. That's the key issue. You mentioned it at the beginning. And if we look at healthcare, we live here in Italy, in the smaller part of the world where, in any case, health as a common value is an offer for the general population. We in Italy, you know, we still have a universalistic system, national health system. So to provide, in principle, the best, the top, the state of the art to everyone independently from their census. And I saw myself some very poor or simple people getting unbelievably costly and fantastically effective therapies and surgery and so on. So, but Italy is one of the last places where this is still a value. Then Italy itself is struggling for guaranteeing this to a large part of the population. And the British, the UK suffered this before Italy and so on. So this is the health and social health continuum care. It's like a home. It's like a house, but with limited rooms. And there is the problem of the door, access, one of the A. But then there are also the other 3A. And it is a critical word. Even in Europe, let's not speak of the south of the world or the poorer part of the world, but in Europe, the social determinants in health, as Sir Michael Marmot and others studied, is a factor of inequality. In London, same category of people, same pathologies and so on, but in two different areas of London, 10 years more of life or less. years, 10 years less of life. I studied the same for Rome. In Rome, the same thing, diabetes or whatever, 10 years life expectancy more or 10 years less. In the same city, in the same moment, now. And this is, so actually health is a human right. Even if the door and the pathway to it can be closed. Our times are tough times. Are times in which human rights are given for granted only to citizens, not to humans. Let's see migrations. And not to each human. Step by step to only some citizens, not to all the citizens. There is a problem of resources, there is a cultural problem. Because we are losing the sense of being the same kind of humanity altogether. And the majority, then there is the problem of the countries in the world that do not provide even basic therapies without money, without getting money from the people. And health cannot depend, human rights cannot depend on money. This is the key. And then I want to conclude this, my first contribution. It was not acceptable to the community of Sant'Egidio in the 90s to see that for AIDS, HIV/AIDS, part of the world could start living with AIDS with a chronic disease, and part of the world was just dying of AIDS. So it was not acceptable that while in the northern and western, more affluent world, the great killer of the 80s and 90s, HIV/AIDS, was step by step becoming a real chronic disease. Actually, in Africa and other parts of the world, the existing therapy was not available, accessible, affordable, and was discouraged. There were 26 million people infected with HIV/AIDS, just stigmatized in terror, with the only destiny of disappear and die, and it was a genocide. It was our starting point to refuse that as community of Sant'Egidio and to start the win-win program that is called DREAM in Sub-Saharan Africa, in case I can give you some more details in the next round. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing, really. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark.
I just wanted to make one comment of is it a human right? Because actually, every member of the World Health Organization in the preamble to their signature to join basically says that a state of health and well-being is a human right. It's also in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I can't remember which paragraph. The Millennium Development Goals have got health-related goals and the Sustainability Development Goals. So to the extent that one can take any of these declarations seriously because countries sign up to them and don't necessarily do anything about it, then it's as much a human right as anything else.
Yes. And framing it as a human right and not a privilege should definitely guide all stakeholders, including government and everyone else, in making the right policies so that people can have access, and that's really fundamental. Thank you. So, Yossi, can you provide specific examples of successful initiatives for removing barriers to healthcare access?
So I'll go to a segment which is very popular now. I call it digital health. And by the way, digital health is not only AI. AI is a buzzword. Everybody uses it now. If you want your company to raise money, whatever you have, medical device, pharma, on your business plan, there is AI. So we need, it was a very nice discussion about AI. There are some concerns, there are some difficulties. AI could be a good tool if it's actually improve validation, which is based on the evidence-based medicine. And it depends of the the technologies, but digital health is not only AI. Is machine learning, is deep learning, is IoT, is 5G, is cyber protection, many things that coming from different multidisciplinary field into the digital health. And now, these days, everybody use it, even the big pharma, in order to save money, in order to save time, in order to be more efficient. The medical devices, if they want, not necessarily app, but now even insulin pump, okay, need a digital health inside. They need to communicate with the cloud to collect data, big data, which we can use later for the patients. So, to my opinion, the good examples of technologies are technologies that are combined the technologies themselves with digital health.
Thank you, Yossi. Chris, and perhaps you could also touch upon the multiple A's when you give examples, the 4 A's that you mentioned, which ones were targeted?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about the affordability aspect. So obviously, as I said, most innovative therapies, they're just too expensive for the really poor parts of the world. By the way, I've traveled in Uttar Pradesh. I know that most people in Uttar Pradesh will not want to spend more than $1 on a therapy. And there's large parts of sub-Saharan Africa where that's true. And you can't possibly produce products for those kind of costs, even the cost of goods, let alone the profits, let alone the cost of paying for the research. The math just doesn't work. So you have to have a different model, and you have to get money from somewhere else to allow medicines to go into these very poor environments. Now, philanthropy is certainly one aspect. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation became a very big and very influential philanthropy in global public health and paid for a lot of innovation of new products. The Wellcome Trust, and more recently, and this is quite interesting, the Novo Nordisk Foundation, which of course produced the obesity and type products. Well, they weren't developed for obesity, but they're largely being sold for obesity. They made so much money that they've become the world's biggest foundation, and they have to do stuff with this money that they're generating. And most people, for the reason that Satish just explained, actually feel good if they do good. I once spoke to the CEO of Novartis, and I asked him, why does Novartis spend money in malaria? You can't make any money out of malaria. And he said, well, it's very simple. We, in companies like Novartis, we have a competition for talent. And we know that our staff like it if we do work, innovation, and produce products that are not just for the rich in Switzerland or in Europe or the US, but are also products that can help people in the poorer parts of the world. I also sort of teased up this impact investing thing. You know, $5 trillion or $35 trillion, and this is going to be transferred in the next 20 years. This is a huge amount of money. If you can only get some of it going into global public health and going for the issue we're talking about, then we've solved the market failure.
Hopefully. Thank you, Chris. Satish?
Well, thank you. You see, in my view, we are in medical line as well as we have a hospital in India. According to me, the whole system is upside down. The whole industry, pharmaceutical industry, is profit-driven. That is the sad part. And there is no cap. People are making 2,000, 3,000% profit. I mean, how ridiculous can that be? I mean, there has to be some rationale to afford the medicines. Like in India, if you take cancer drugs, which have to be imported, they are so astronomically priced. And as just now I was told that you travel to Uttar Pradesh and people are not spending because they don't have money. It's not a question of they are not spending. They are poor people and they cannot afford to spend money. So what I feel, if we want the world to go ahead in a proper way and innovations will happen, and just now I was told like you put AI in your syllabus, you can raise money. So the whole structure is money oriented and dividend oriented and share price oriented. And that's the way it has become. So other industries separate, like car, this, but health is dealing with human life. And how do you extract blood out of a dying patient? It's like that, you know. You are asking him to spend money which he cannot afford. So naturally he'll die. So that is the most important, that we should have some limit to profiteering and some limit to what we can do. And even the medical doctors earlier was considered, even now it's considered a noble profession, a very, very good profession. I mean, they were treated like gods in India, the medical doctors. But now everybody has become profit oriented. Everybody wants more and more fees, whether the patient can afford or not. So I think there should be some decorum to make it affordable to people, you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Satish.
There is another point related to this topic that near 100 million of people in this world every year, they go through the limit of the poverty because the expenses out of pocket to get therapy. So this is, I think, a very strategic touch base of Satish. Like we should try to shift again the healthcare approach more to the human side rather than to the profit side. Thank you.
Yes, I totally agree. I think it's a real challenge how to create a decent amount of money to change the balance. That's the issue. And very interesting what you, Chris, said about Novartis. Let's hope that also others can have the same problem to be competitive with Novartis on the same issue. But of course, sometimes it happens with donations of drugs. But I think there is a big issue about philanthropy as well, and business in general, how to create a structural mechanism that the more they are successful, the more they provide to the poorer part of the world. We must create not just as a donation, just as a grant or something, but as a structural mechanism, in my opinion. We should lobby for that. And this is a proposal to the developers and to the capitalists and so on. But I promised to say something about, I left you a little, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, AIDS, was first defined as a disease in its own right on June 5th, 1981. We forgot that. In the Journal of the CDC, and the highest public health authority in the United States. And the 80s were dominated by two opposite approaches. WHO, AIDS as a medical issue, and the prevailing one, UNAIDS, affirming a multi-sectorial approach that dominated from that moment on the international jargon. In simple words, UNAIDS argued that before being an epidemiological issue, the approach to the HIV pandemic had to be social, political, pedagogical, demographic. In few words, only prevention and mostly just condoms to the south of the world. Therapy and prevention to the north, to the richest part of the world. That was the normal result. This approach was, I'm not speaking of marginal people. Thabo Mbeki, the successor of Nelson Mandela, substantially World Conference on AIDS in Durban was saying we must fight poverty, not AIDS. And his Minister of Health, a woman, was supporting bananas as therapy for AIDS because they were fighting malnutrition. So that was the world. In this world, we thought that the truth that contains a genocide as an unavoidable consequence, it is not a truth, it is a lie. This is how the community of Sant'Egidio has established since 2002 the DREAM, Drug Results Enhancement Against AIDS and Malnutrition project that is a community-based approach to AIDS crisis rooted in epidemiology, medicine, public health that has proven effective in 10 countries and has emerged as a model, a best practice also for WHO now, and has emerged as a model for healthcare in the global south much beyond AIDS. 1 million people involved, 200,000 children without HIV/AIDS born from HIV/AIDS positive mothers, to prevent the transmission, therapy provided to pregnant mothers and after delivery to prevent the transmission of the virus through breastfeeding, nutritional programs for the whole families, education, and the most powerful tool of prevention and treatment in Africa, and a democratization impact empowering women from stigmatized ones and powerless to activists and community and life builders. Now, this is a model that can be used also in rural areas for global health after being crucial over the last years during the harshest times of COVID-19 pandemics. So, in this case, innovation is not to believe two lies.
Thank you very much, Mario. And such models, wonderful example, and such models grounded in a framework of sustainability where the ultimate aim isn't just financial returns.
If I may say, over the last 10 years, it was almost impossible to raise money because somehow there was not the whole, because the official version and analysis on AIDS was not wanting to tackle for real the pandemics in Africa. So it was almost forbidden to raise money.
Thank you for that. Very quickly, in your opinion, what is the most critical area for immediate action to democratize access to health care, and what are the actions that ought to be taken?
So here I think the middle action coming from the regulatory authorities, especially for digital health, they are behind these big movements of innovations. They cannot supply answers, they cannot approve all kind of product, even if there is a kind of a good validation. And on the other hand, I expect the regulatory authorities to take care about individuals' innovations, especially I'll give an example. We had a discussion today about gene therapy, about gene engineering. Today, individual in his basement, because of the CRISPR, because of AI, because of many other reasons, can produce all kind of crazy stuff, changing genetically many things in animals. Soon it would be also in human, with no supervision. What we could do in a lab or a major, by governments or by major research institution 5 years ago, now everybody can do it at home. So I also expect from the regulation authorities to put regulations to avoid this kind of things.
Very important point, giving the potential and the potential consequences of such technologies. Chris?
Chris, very quick touch base so we can give some times in case of some
Yeah,
Q&A.
I mean, to take just one aspect, so to go to the A's again, acceptance. I mean, I think there is a very big education issue, an advocacy issue in health, because if you go to very poor parts of the world, not only do they not have healthcare, but they're also extremely uneducated. So they don't really understand that it's possible to have a real medicine rather than buying a fake drug in the local market. They just don't understand it. It's a huge problem.
Thank you.
See, quickly I'll explain one very vital point which has been. You see, in India, you know, the Himalayas are the largest mountain range in the world. And so many areas are snowbound all through the year. And thousands of people are living naked. They are called Naga sadhus. And I've tried to reason with them that how do you survive? So you'll be shocked, in minus 30 degrees, they're naked. They say we don't need clothing. So my thinking would be, I'm trying to make some research, that global people, they should study these people, that how they are living naked. You see, they don't take medicine. Generally, it's known in India, they all live more than 100 years old. And whatever food they eat, and I don't know anybody I've seen with the spectacles. So these people are happy lot, they are living there on their own, away from the world, totally. So it requires a study that how they are doing it.
And to be very fast, because I know that we have to run. First, I think that for the parts of the world where there is a big gap, I think for sure telemedicines, and this can be a jump of generations. But even for that, we need the energy. So we need the electricity, we need the solar panel, we need some roads. So infrastructuring can be decisive also for the super jump into the future. So we must match the two. And for our Western world, I think the gigantic planet of the elderly, we must invest less in hardware, that means institutionalization, hospitals, and so on, and much more in homes and home care and community services, changing again the perspective. This is a way to reach everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for all of your insightful comments. We'll open up to the audience for questions, please. Microphone over here, please.
Thank you so much. Dr. Ferro, Bambino Gesù Children's Hospital in Rome. So we built a coalition of 25 hospitals worldwide. It's a global action. We find a very clever way to improve access to care, especially to pediatrics, to children everywhere in the world. We launched a project, it's called Pediatric Moonshot, together with this hospital worldwide. And we are AI-powered, of course, sorry, but works. And if I have a tool to use it to save children, I will. So my question is the following. Now we have value, we have the tools, we have the settings, we have the people involved. How do I find support to bring this now pilot study to reality? Because we need actionable way to actually make it possible, even if we, basically how we find resources, how we get people involved, because we don't have funding programs that can support us, because this is not regular research. This is something else. It's something global that affects more countries and more people.
Come to Cube Labs. It's very easy. You are touching a point of a capitalist. Like you are looking for resources. So you have to convince some of investors in healthcare that you are proposing an attractive project, R&D project, for establish a kind of nucleus around it, and then moving forward to the market. So I would say that in a straightforward reply, this is the work that you should do. So start to move around and find the right people for this. I mean, we are happy in case to give you any kind of insights or support if the projects, it makes sense to us. Thank you.
And have a business plan, good business plan.
It's wonderful how
I
everyone is speaking from their
Forgot
area.
you have Shizim as well,
Okay.
so you can
Position.
propose to them
That's
as
right.
well.
May we also perhaps have an answer from the government policy side, from Mario, or from public health, from Chris on the question?
This is a problem, for instance, in Italy. A lot of research is incredibly high-level research, and many new ideas and products are created inside the public sector, inside university and so on. But then there is not the same proportion to come into the market. So because it is this second step that it is not supported, for instance, in Italy. So for this second step, we need some venture capitalism and private-public collaboration, I think. Because Italy can be also number 2 for innovation, but number 8 when you must go to the market.
Chris, very quickly.
Well, the issue is to do with resources for hospitals and primary care, and it's basically going back to the issue that I was saying, is there isn't really enough money to get primary care or medicines in very poor settings completely. But there are certain organizations, certain philanthropies that specifically are interested in this topic, and it has a very long history. Some may know the name Albert Schweitzer. He built hospitals in Africa for exactly this reason. So, you have to find where the money is. A lot of global public health. I ran a philanthropy in Geneva in Switzerland. As CEO, I spent all my time finding money. That is basically what your job is as CEO. Find money to run the operation which works.
Thank you. Any other questions? For the
So,
closing.
thank you, Işıl, and heartfelt thank you to all our panelists for their own insightful contribution to this very brightful, I would say, discussion. We are getting to the end, so I would say that the priority conclusion, so the takeaway, must be a threefold. So firstly, reducing the gap between science, laboratory, capital, and market, because these will help to democratize life science, to bring innovation into the daily life with healthcare solution. Secondly, ensuring maximal access to healthcare technologies and the healthcare solutions that they enable, with a kind of ensuring the, as before was mentioning Chris, availability, accessibility, and affordability, because these are three main elements for giving the real access to the people, to the healthcare and solution. And then thirdly, to build a cost-effective strategy for changing a bit the mindset of the actual healthcare global system, moving forward and through new kind of business model, strategic partnership, investing in digital healthcare, AI, preventive care, and then optimizing as well the supply chain. With just one tip at the end, with the new state of mind about our inner happiness. So, thank you very much, and hopefully see you soon.
Thank you, Cube Labs.